I've been visiting Svishtov since 2007, but most of the video you will see today is from the last 5 years. Svishtov sits on the river Danube, and you'll see a line drawn down the middle of the river, and to the north of that, that's up on your screen, is Romania. Hotel Novo was one of the first we stayed at. The Billa supermarket is central to all the hotels. The Pre-Popper is nearer the river, and the Trumpet is on Aleko Square, and we visit this wherever we're staying. When I'm staying in the Hotel Dunav or Danube, I have this view of the square and of the Trumpet pub, so I just have to walk across the road and enjoy the food and drink and the music. And they seem to be into music. The fact that they're called the Trumpet might be a clue. You will see other instruments in there, but of some interest while you're waiting for your meal to come is some of the signs on the wall. We'll pop back to the Trumpet later, but now there's something going on in the square, so let's take a look down there. As you can see, there's plenty of room to sit outside when the better weather's here. There's a piece of waste land alongside the pub where we usually manage to park, and we found that over the years some of the staff have got to know us and even know which beer to bring to the table before we even ask. This is by far the most convenient location for me in Svishtov, and when I finish filming my videos I just pop back into my hotel room and edit them on my laptop. Here's an incident from 2023 that I managed to film. We were sitting in a bar having a drink and we saw smoke coming up from behind a tree, so we went to investigate. This was a van on fire that we never found out what caused it, whether it was vandalism or just by accident. Anyway, the nearest bar restaurant to the fire was the Macedonian Grill, so let's make that the first of the restaurants that I show you today. We'd actually been buying food from this business without even knowing it for some years, because they have a sandwich bar which is round the other side, and we didn't know it was even connected with them. It's a good place just to grab a snack, and they do provide a couple of tables to sit out and eat it as well. Takeaway food that you can actually not have to take away. Here's one of our favourite restaurants that we can no longer visit. It's by the traffic lights. It's a first floor venue that you get in from the back, and it's called Svoboda, or it was. And then came COVID lockdowns and so on, and when it eventually came back it was called the Oasis. We did go in at that time. It's got a fantastic first floor terrace that you can look out on the town from. But the last couple of times I tried to go and eat there, they were only doing private parties, so I'm not sure if it's open to the public anymore. If it is, it's right opposite Billa at the traffic lights. Also opposite Billa, but in a different direction, is this coffee shop which recently has started serving Costa coffee. One of my all-time favourites, especially in the hot weather, is down this road because it's shaded by these tall trees. It's a French cafe, and we have coffee and cake here quite a lot. This next one's a little hard to find. It's in the back streets and it's called By Ganyo. And we never knew what that meant until now.
Now, Baiganiu is a name every Bulgarian knows, and if you want to be critical about Bulgarian culture, or somebody, you call him a Baiganiu.
So what I understand from what Yana said was that if you don't like a place or a person, you can call them a Baiganiu. Well, I have to say, I don't know why the restaurant have given themselves this name, but it really is a nice secluded place to have a meal. Deja Vu's been a regular haunt for drinks and snacks. We've all been there before, and this is the place where we found a kitten who crawled out from under a car and started drinking a bowl of milk, which I didn't notice before was right by my feet. The PR Club has an inside restaurant which we've used in the cold weather in the winter, but most of the time we're up on the roof terrace once again, and again we have shade from the sun because they built the whole place around this big tall tree. This means there's shade particularly in the areas where mothers bring their children to play. It sometimes looks like a bit of a crash in the mornings. Something I learnt from the locals about breakfast is that a lot of Bulgarians have soup, so we decided that when in Rome, as they say, and this place is right by the open air market. If I've translated it properly, this one's just called the Svishtov restaurant. Colin and I were brought here by a photographer by the name of Zlati originally, but we've been back a few times since, and Colin always likes to have a sizzling meal, and you can probably see why. This one's out on the road to the east of Svishtov, and it's up a hill with some very nice views. Unfortunately, for the last few years it hasn't been open. It was called the Hunting Lodge, and this is the last time we managed to go there. I've been coming to Svishtov since 2007, and this is the very first place that I ever had some food and drink, and it wasn't even finished at that time, but Milen, who was taking us round at the time, managed to talk to the owner and he let us in to have some food. We actually went back to this place in 2023, and you can see the similarity in the shots. It overlooks the river, and it's a great place to have a coffee and just relax. Here you'll see photographer Colin talking to Zlati, who's from the Svishtov area, and she took us around a number of places, including the human sundial, which is demonstrated here by Zlati's mum, who still lives in the area. Zlati arranged for us to see round her old school, and really is a beautiful school inside with some great ceilings and big portraits, and I gather they have weddings here too. We were joined later by Zlati's sister, who took us down to this place. It's the house where Aleko Konstantinov was born, and it's now set up as a museum that you can go and tour around.
And this man here is called Aleko Konstantinov. Aleko Konstantinov. Every Bulgarian knows this name. This is a very famous writer. He died young. He was actually killed, maybe by accident, maybe not. And he wrote an emblematic book, Baiganiu.
It seems to me that if you want to know more about Bulgarian history, you could do worse than get on to Yana on Grammar, her YouTube channel. Thank you, Yana, for telling us about Alek Konstantinov. Here's some pictures from a trip I didn't actually go on, and Colin went with a fellow photographer from Chester, and he went down and filmed by the docks. The multi-storey car park was interesting. How did they get that up there anyway? And the other thing about the shots that Colin took that day were all the birds. I'm doing my best to show you all the aspects of Svishtov that we've seen, and we met this school party and now walk around the parks to look for some shade under some trees. They were apparently on some sort of history lesson and they were looking around at some of the old buildings. I mentioned that we had breakfast soup by the market earlier on. This is the market as filmed on a Sunday in 2019. It at the time was running on a Sunday and a Thursday, but I think I've noticed it's open on other days in the years since then. So if you're thinking of visiting the Svishtov market, check out which days it's going to be on. The Pre-Popper Hotel isn't quite as convenient for the town centre, but it is just a short walk up the hill to the Billa supermarket. But Monuments Park is a point of interest which isn't that far along the river from there. There's a complete history lesson involved with Monuments Park, including that tall monument itself. A lot of the stuff is only in Bulgarian, so you'd be as well to take your Google with you and find out more about it as you go around. Another place we went to when staying at the Pre-Popper was we walked down to the riverfront. You can't tell from the map, but it's quite a steep drop down to the riverfront and therefore a steep walk when you come back up. A bit of a winding road as well. But it's well worth it. It's very chilled down there. From down here on the riverfront you can look across to Zimnica in Romania, and there's a ferry that goes from Svishtov to Zimnica, and as you can just about see in the photo, it takes quite a number of trucks. You don't have to be here very long before you find out where the important places are. The hospital, the banks, the mobile phone shops, don't forget them. And there are plenty of little supermarkets, but Billa is a German supermarket which is the biggest, and it's right in the centre of town. Those who know me well will also know that I love my coffee, and the good news is that even when all the cafes are shut, 24-hour machines are available to serve the coffee on the street. It really isn't bad either. There's also little shop units which are more or less a serve-yourself affair with all sorts of coffee, cold drinks, snacks, and it's all there just for putting some money in, and it's very cheap by our standards. What about public transport? Well, I've only ever come into Svishtov by train, but there's a bus station just down the road from there, and I intend to try that sometime this year. There's a fair bit of freight traffic on the railways, with there being the docks just along the road from here. Here's another video clip from 13 years ago, is that? And it was the Siemens trains which they had running for a while. But the good news is that some of those trains have now come back, and I spotted one when I was there last year. As for the weather, well, Svishtov has occasional storms, a bit like the ones we've seen in Spain. They're very fierce and they come on suddenly, and I was caught in shorts and t-shirt when this one broke. I was on my way up to the supermarket. I had to stand in a shop doorway, but half an hour later it all cleared, it was gone, and I was back on my way to Billa. Bit of lightning for you now, and I filmed this from the balcony of the Hotel Nove, which looks across the river. This storm was actually over Romania, didn't affect us at all, but the lightning is quite amazing. This picture shows Svoboda across the road on the first floor there. That's the restaurant that no longer opens to the public, it would seem. Because I stay in a hotel which is right opposite Alecho Square, I tended to get lazy in the winter when it was really cold and just always cross the road to the Trumpet. Well, that's my short recap of the times we've had in Svishtov, and I look forward to going back there again soon. It's time for a beer.